15 years of marriage. You'd think that after all that time, I'd know her better than anyone. And maybe that's exactly why this doesn't make any sense. It started small, little shifts, the kind you wouldn't notice if you weren't paying attention. But I always have. Lisa has always been a creature of habit. The way she wraps her hands around a coffee mug in the morning, as if soaking up the warmth. The way she always takes a second to fix her hair in the hallway mirror before leaving the house. The way she lingers a little too long over a text message. Before responding, lips slightly parted like she's rehearsing the right words. That last one? Yeah, that's new. It wasn't a single thing. It was the accumulation of little ones. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. People change, routines shift, but this felt unnatural. She started showering at weird times. Lisa was always a night shower person, never in the middle of the day. But now, she'd come home from the store and head straight to the bathroom. I didn't say anything, not at first. Then there was the laughter. Late at night, after I had gone to bed, I'd hear her in the living room. Low murmurs, followed by that soft, warm laugh she used when she was genuinely enjoying herself, the one she used to have with me. The first time I heard it, I told myself it was just a movie. Maybe she was scrolling through something funny on her phone. The second time I got up, I found her curled up on the couch, a blanket over her legs, phone tilted slightly away from me. The screen glowed against her face, and when she saw me standing there, she flinched. Just for a second, just enough for my stomach to tighten. "Hey," she said, her voice light, too light. "Couldn't sleep?" "Yeah. What about you?" She lifted her phone slightly like it was nothing. "Just texting Claire. She's having a rough time with her mom." I nodded. "Claire?" "Of course. But my gut told me something different. A few nights later, she went out. That wasn't unusual. Lisa had always valued her time with friends. But what was unusual was how vague she was about it. "Where are you going?" I asked as she slipped on her shoes. She hesitated. Just for a second. "Dinner with the girls," she said with a smile. "Nothing crazy." And then she was gone. The kids were in bed. The house was quiet. I tried to distract myself with a game, some TV, even flipping through the unread books on the shelf, but my mind kept drifting back to her. She didn't text. Usually she'd send me something, a picture of her meal, a quick, "I miss you," maybe a joke about something dumb her friends said. That night, nothing. By midnight, I was restless. I checked my phone. No messages. At 12:30, she came home. I was sitting on the couch, pretending to be watching TV when she walked in. She smelled like perfume, something different from her usual scent, something heavier. She saw me and froze for a fraction of a second before forcing a smile. "Hey," she said. "How was dinner?" She shrugged, setting her purse down carefully like she was aware of every movement. "Good. We just talked and caught up. You know how it is." "Yeah." "Where'd you go?" She blinked. That Italian place on 5th. I raised an eyebrow. "5th? Didn't you say you were going to Main Street?" For the first time, she looked rattled. Just for a second. Then she laughed, but it was forced. "Did I? I must have gotten mixed up." I let it go. But I didn't forget. The breaking point came a few days later. Our oldest, Jason, was supposed to be at his friend's house for a sleepover. Our younger daughter, Maddie, was asleep. I was in the garage, fixing up an old shelf when I heard voices inside. A man's voice, low, muted, just inside the front door. I stepped out into the dimly lit hallway, my pulse hammering in my ears. Then I heard Jason's voice. "What the hell are you doing?" I rounded the corner just in time to see Lisa standing in the doorway, wide-eyed, her body partially blocking the entrance. And Jason, tall for his age, his face twisted in confusion and anger, was staring past her at someone. Outside, someone I couldn't see. Lisa turned sharply. "Go to your room, Jason." He didn't move. "Who is that?" "Go. Now." Her voice was tight, panicked, and that's when I saw the shadow beyond the door, a man, just outside, frozen. I took a step forward, but Lisa yanked the door shut. Too quick, too desperate. She turned to me, her face pale. "It's not what you think." I stared at her, my mind struggling to catch up with reality. Jason was still standing there, breathing hard. Then the doorbell rang. A single chime. Lisa flinched. Jason looked at me, then at her. No one moved. The silence was deafening. I knew, in that moment, that whatever was on the other side of that door, it was the truth. And I wasn't ready for it. The moment hung in the air like the stillness before a storm. The doorbell didn't ring again. Whoever was outside had either realized they were caught or were waiting for Lisa to fix this, to make the moment pass. But there was no fixing this. I took a step forward, my pulse hammering so loud I could hear it in my ears. Jason was frozen beside me, his fists clenched. Lisa blocked the door like a human shield. "Move," I said, my voice low. She shook her head, her hands gripping the door handle so tightly her knuckles turned white. "It's not move, Lisa." She didn't, and that told me everything. I reached for the doorknob and she tried to stop me, but I was faster. I yanked the door open. The porch light flickered for a second, casting long shadows over the figure standing there. A man. Early 30s, maybe. Athletic build, dark hair, dressed too casually for someone who was just stopping by. His eyes widened. When he saw me, then flicked toward Lisa like he was waiting for her to say something. My hands curled into fists. "What the hell are you doing at my house?" I asked, my voice barely under control. The guy didn't answer. His jaw tensed, like he was calculating whether to fight or bolt. Lisa grabbed my arm. "Go inside." "Are you serious right now?" I turned. To her, disbelief crashing over the anger. "Who the hell is this?" She didn't answer. Jason was still standing there, and I could feel his eyes burning into both of us, waiting for the truth, the same way I was. The guy took a step back, hands raised slightly like he was trying to show he wasn't a threat. "Look, man, I should probably—" "You should probably what?" I stepped forward. "Tell me why you're standing at my front door when my wife is home alone?" Lisa shoved herself between us. "Stop it, both of you!" The guy took another step back, then glanced at Lisa again. "I'll text you." "Text you?" I let out a sharp laugh, something bitter and humorless. "Yeah," I said. "You do that." Then he turned and walked down the driveway, disappearing into the night. I stood there, staring at the empty space where he had been, my mind racing, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. Lisa exhaled sharply and turned to me, her face twisted in something between anger and desperation. "Can we talk about this inside?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I glanced at Jason, who was still standing stiffly near the stairs, his expression unreadable. "Go to your room," I told him. He hesitated. "Jason," I repeated, not looking away from Lisa. "Go." After a long moment, he turned and walked upstairs, his footsteps slow and heavy. I stepped back into the house and Lisa shut the door behind us. Then silence. I could hear the ticking of the kitchen clock, the hum of the refrigerator, the normal sounds of our home. But nothing about this was normal. I turned to her. "Start talking." She rubbed her arms like she was cold. "It's not what you think." That's not an answer. She swallowed hard, looking down at the floor. I was helping him." I let out a short, sharp laugh. "Helping him? With what exactly?" Her eyes darted up to mine. "It's complicated." "I bet it is." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "You were going to let him in, weren't you? While our kids were home, while I was here. And you want me to believe this is some kind of misunderstanding?" She hesitated. And that was the moment I realized she was scrambling for an answer. She hadn't expected to get caught, not like this. "Lisa," I said, quieter this time. "Who is he?" She licked her lips, shifting her weight. "His name is Evan." Evan. I rolled the name around in my head. It meant nothing to me. "And what exactly is Evan to you?" She hesitated again, and that was all I needed. I turned away from her and ran a hand through my hair. My skin felt too tight, my pulse erratic. This wasn't just suspicion anymore. It wasn't paranoia. This was real. She took a step closer. "I swear I didn't—" "Didn't what?" I spun around, my voice louder than I meant it to be. "Didn't sleep with him? Didn't bring him into our house?" I let out a short, sharp laugh. Or didn't think you'd get caught. Her face crumpled for a moment, but she quickly schooled her expression back into something neutral. You have to believe me, she whispered. Give me one reason why I should. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. And I realized in that moment, she didn't have one. I stepped back, running a hand over my face. The exhaustion hit me all at once. The last week of weird behavior, the lies, the forced smiles, it all clicked into place. I had been trying so hard to hold on to something that was already broken. Lisa took a step closer, reaching out, but I pulled back. Don't, I said sharply. Her face twisted. I don't want to lose this. Lose us. I laughed again, but it was hollow. Lisa, you did this. Not me. You don't get to act like this is some tragic accident that just happened to us. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't care. Not now. There was only one question left. How long? She looked at me, startled. How long has this been going on? My voice was eerily calm, detached. Lisa wiped her face, inhaled sharply, and then, finally, she answered. 3 months. I closed my eyes. 3 months. That was how long my wife had been sneaking around, lying to me, lying to our kids. I let out a slow breath. I need you to leave. Her eyes widened. What? You heard me. I need you to leave. Her lip trembled. We can fix this, I shook my head. No, you broke this, and right now I can't even look at you. For a moment she just stood there, like she didn't understand the words I was saying. Then, finally, she moved. She grabbed her coat from the chair and walked to the door. She hesitated, her hand on the doorknob, and turned back. I never meant for this to happen. I didn't answer. She waited another second, then opened the door and stepped out into the night. The door clicked shut behind her, and for the first time in 15 years, I was alone in my own house. The house felt different without her, quieter, colder. Even though I was the one who told her to leave, I hadn't been ready for what that actually meant. Every shadow in the house reminded me of her. The empty side of the bed, the scent of her perfume still lingering in the closet, the coffee mug she'd left in the sink, lipstick smudged on the rim. I should have thrown it away. I didn't. Jason wouldn't talk to me. Not really. He'd come downstairs, grab something from the fridge, mumble a few words, and disappear again. I knew he was trying to process what had happened, the same way I was. Maddie was too young to understand. She just kept asking when Mom was coming. Home. I had no answer. 3 days passed. Lisa texted a few times. Nothing dramatic, just practical things. Can I come get some clothes? I ignored it at first, then eventually replied, I'll leave a bag on the porch. No more than that. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry. Just a cold exchange, like we were already strangers. The strangest part was, I still didn't know how I felt. Angry? Obviously. Betrayed? Of course. But there was something else too. Something worse. Emptiness. For 15 years, she'd been part of my life. We built this house together, raised 2 kids, made plans for the future. And now? Now I had no idea what came next. It was Jason who forced my hand. Late one night, I found him in the kitchen, staring at his phone. His jaw was clenched, his knuckles white around the edges of the screen. What's up? I asked, keeping my voice casual. He didn't answer right away. Just turned the phone around and showed me the screen. A text conversation. Lisa, she'd messaged. Him. Can we talk? I love you so much. I miss you. I didn't mean for this to happen. And then, the last one, it's not what you think. Jason let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Not what I think? She was sneaking some guy into our house while we were home. What part of that am I supposed to misunderstand? I exhaled slowly, rubbing my face. I know. You gonna take her back? His voice was sharp, accusing. I met his eyes. I don't know, he scoffed. You don't know? Are you serious right now? Jason, she cheated on you, Dad. His voice cracked. On us. And now she's acting like she's the victim. He wasn't wrong, but he also didn't understand. Not fully. Marriage isn't just love. It's years, it's history, it's a million small moments that don't just vanish overnight. I shook my head, searching for the words. I need time. Jason stared at me for a long moment, then shoved his phone back into his pocket. You do whatever you want, he muttered. Just don't expect me to forgive her. Then he walked out, and I realized maybe this wasn't just about me. The next day I asked Lisa to meet, not at the house, not at a restaurant, neutral ground, a park we used to take the kids to when they were little. She was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench, fidgeting with her wedding ring. When she saw me, her face lit up for just a second, like she thought I was there to fix things. I wasn't. I sat down across from her. She opened her mouth, but I cut her off. Don't lie to me. Her expression flickered, and she swallowed hard. I'm not. You already did. Silence. Then she exhaled, shaking her head. I don't know what to say. I leaned forward. Say the truth. All of it. No more it's not what you think. No more dodging. Just tell me how we got here. She hesitated. Then finally she spoke. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said, her voice small. Evan, he was just someone I met at work. It started as nothing, just talking. I didn't even think about it like that. I didn't say anything, but then I started looking forward to seeing him. We'd grab coffee, have lunch, and before I knew it, I was texting him more than I was texting you. I clenched my jaw. And then, she continued, voice breaking, I realized I wanted to be around him. I liked the way he looked at me. Like I was someone exciting again, someone new. My stomach twisted. But I never meant for it to go this far, she said quickly. I swear. She stopped. It was just a couple of times. I stared at her. You slept with him? She nodded, her eyes wet. But it didn't mean anything. I laughed. A short, hollow sound. That's supposed to make me feel better? She wiped her face. I don't know, I'm so sorry. I love you. I love our family. I don't want to lose this. I leaned back, looking at her, really looking at her. And I saw it. The regret, the desperation, but not the grief, not the soul-crushing. I destroyed everything I had kind of pain. Just the fear of losing what was comfortable, what was safe. That's when I knew. You already lost this, I said quietly. Her breath hitched. You don't mean that. I do. I swallowed hard. Because you didn't just cheat. You brought him here. You were willing to risk everything, not just me, our kids, our home. And you only stopped because Jason caught you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Please. I stood up. This isn't something we come back from, Lisa. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Don't, I said, the finality in my voice making her flinch. Her face crumpled, and for a second, I thought she might fight harder. But she didn't. She just nodded, wiping her tears, and whispered, I'm so sorry. I turned and walked away. The divorce was fast. She didn't fight me on custody. Maybe because she knew Jason wouldn't forgive her. Maybe because she was too ashamed to fight. I moved into a new place with the kids. It wasn't the same, but it was ours. Some nights I still felt the weight of it all pressing down on me, the what-ifs, the memories, the parts of her I still loved. But then I'd hear Jason laughing in the other room, or Maddie telling me about her day, and I'd remember, didn't lose everything. I just lost her. And maybe that was okay.